What's going on, everybody? I'm your host, Ben Ballion, back with another episode of the Sports Pod. And in today's episode, I'm going to talk about the Jets and Giants draft strategy and quarterback situation. I'll get into all of it on the other side of the intro. Hit it.
DiVincenzo at three. Bang! Bang! At the wall, he jumps. It's gone. He did it. He did it. Pete Alonso with the most memorable home run of his career.
All right, getting into the episode, and I want to start with the Giants because I think there's a lot more to discuss just because of the complexity of their quarterback room and the situation that they're in. So here's my plan for the Giants. I talked about it before. I want them to trade back from 3 if possible. Maybe they have to stay at 3. But Jackson Dart needs to be in this quarterback room one way or another. I think he's the guy. I think he's going to be the best quarterback that comes out of this draft class. Listen, Shedeur Sanders' draft stock is falling. I mean, he's coming off as arrogant, as cocky. He lost the phone that he gave his number, he lost his phone number that he gave out to scouts. Hey, his draft stock is falling. This is a all-time sell job for Shedeur Sanders. I mean, he has the chance to go number 1 overall. He's just not doing the right things and taking the right steps necessary to being that top pick in this year's draft. And I'm going to be honest with you. I was never a Shedeur Sanders fan. I'm happy Matthew Stafford's not going to be a Giant. I was never a Stafford fan as far as the Giants quarterback situation goes. The Giants did not need to get involved with Matt Stafford. It was not going to work out. The Giants are looking for long-term success. You need to see what you have in Brian Daboll before you can judge him. He has not had a rookie quarterback. He has not had a quarterback that he can really develop. Daniel Jones was already in year 5 or 6 when Daboll took over. This is the time. I know this is a very shallow draft class, free agent class, trade-in class. There's not that many moves to be made. I'm going to say this. Unless Aaron Rodgers agrees to come back in a mentorship role, on a bridge role where he'll play the first 5 or 6 weeks, but then have to take a back seat to the young quarterback the Giants draft, whether it is a Jackson Dart, whether it is a Shedeur Sanders, whether they wait till the second round and take a Kyle McCord, Will Howard-esque guy. Aaron Rodgers, if he's going to be on the Giants, he has to agree to take a mentorship role. He is not going to be the starting quarterback for the entire season unless injuries happen. And injuries happen every year. We saw it with J.J. McCarthy last season. It can happen. But if the Giants and Joe Schoen and Brian Daboll are going to bring Aaron Rodgers to this team, you cannot bring him in under any circumstance except he will be a mentor to the young quarterback that you end up bringing in. That's that. And with Justin Fields, I don't really want to get involved with Fields. I think, I get he's only 26 years old, but he's been in the NFL now for more than 3, 4, 5 years at this point. You shouldn't be a project at that point. You kind of know what you're getting with Justin Fields because of how long he's been in the league for. You don't want to take a project in a year that is so vital to Brian Daboll's head coaching career with the Giants, and a year that's so vital to Joe Schoen's career with the Giants. Like, if they don't win a substantial amount of games, if they don't meet the expectations that John Mara has set for them, they're gone. They're fired. It's over. The Giants will have a new regime next season. Plain and simple. Unless they bring in a young quarterback. Because in that case, John Mara would have to give them a couple years to develop the quarterback. Give them 2 or 3 years to see what you have in that quarterback. See what you have with what you're building around that quarterback. Can you bring in a Chris Godwin? Can you bring in Amari Cooper, a Stephon Diggs? I mean, there are a good amount of wide receivers on the market, and you do have a good amount of cap space to work with. I say you draft a quarterback, maybe you bring in, I don't even know who you bring in besides Rodgers or Sam Darnold, but I don't think he wants to come back to New Jersey. Or Justin Fields. Like, I want to stay away from those guys. Those guys aren't the options long term, and I get that. I get that you're going to bring in a young quarterback in addition to that. But it just doesn't seem worth it to me to bring in one of those guys to spend cap space. And we know how valuable cap space is in the NFL. More than any other sport, it's applicable where if you don't have the cap space lined up, you're not going to be able to build your team, and the cap is tighter than any other league except maybe the NHL. I don't really know. I don't think they're getting as big of contracts, though. So for the Giants, I mean, if you don't come out of this draft without a quarterback, it's a failed draft automatically. I don't care if the other 6 guys are the best offensive lineman in 50 years, the best wide receiver, the best defensive back. You need a quarterback. You need a quarterback. That's all. If you come out of this draft with nothing but a quarterback, it was a success. The Giants have to put everything they have. They have to sell their souls to this quarterback that they're going to draft. They have to force this guy to be good. They have to put everything into developing this quarterback, everything into making sure this quarterback is the next franchise quarterback. Because if he's not in the next 3-4 years, Brian Daboll, Joe Shane, heads are going to roll. Those guys are not going to have jobs with the New York Giants. Plain and simple. And I want to talk a little bit more about Matt Stafford. I was not in the camp of trading for Matt Stafford. I mean, I think he's too old. What is he, 36, 37? I get he brought the Rams to a Super Bowl and won a Super Bowl with the Rams, but you're building for the future. You're not building for this year or two. And if you're trading for Matt Stafford and you're going to have to sign him to a $50 million a year contract, and I think the Giants only have about $50 million in cap space, you got a problem there. You don't have any flexibility to do anything else. So for me, it wasn't going to be worth it to bring in Matt Stafford. I just think that the juice wasn't going to be worth the squeeze. He would have won you a couple games. Your team would have been solid. Maybe you would have gone out. You get Devontae Adams, trade for him. Maybe you sign one of these free agent wide receivers. Oh, you can't sign one of those wide receivers because you don't have the cap space to do it. Matthew Stafford would limit the options that this franchise has moving forward because of how big he wanted his contract to be. $50 million a year for a quarterback that is 38 years old is outrageous. So I am very happy, very content with the Giants not trading for Matthew Stafford. For the Giants not opening up their checkbooks on a guy that's, let's be honest, on the back end of his career. And there was turmoil whether he was going to play this season or not. There was a question mark whether he would return. Was he going to go to the Raiders and play with Tom Brady? Was he going to stay with the Rams, which ended up happening? And I think all these rumors where, the Giants have reached out. The Giants are progressing in trade talks. Oh, man, Tom Brady, how's Matthew Stafford? Oh, Tom Brady ran into Matt Stafford at Starbucks. I think in the end, it was all a leverage play for the Rams to get him back. I think that's all it was. And at the end of the day, I'm happy with how it worked out. I don't think there needed to be a move that the Giants made for, like I said, a 38-year-old quarterback. You're moving towards the future. You need to see what you have in Daboll, this supposed quarterback whisperer. This guy, he developed Josh Allen. This is a real professional we're talking about. This is a certified quarterback guy, which I want to see if it's true. Go prove it to me, Dabes. Get your quarterback. Develop him over the next season or two, and let's see what we got. You still have a job. You can still prove yourself to Mara. Shane can still prove himself to Mara by making good decisions as the GM. I mean, he let Saquon Barkley walk 2,000 yards. And now Saquon just today, I'm recording this on Tuesday, March 3rd or 4th. Saquon Barkley just signed a $41 million contract that is the largest running back contract in the history of the sport. And he got it for a reason. And Joe Shane let that guy walk. Joe Schoen let that guy walk over $1 or $2 million. And now Saquon Barkley signed a $41 million contract. Let me do the math here. That's about $39 more million than it was going to take the Giants to keep him. Because the Giants would have been able to sign him on a $12, $13 million deal. He wanted to be a Giant. He wanted to stay with Big Blue. But Joe Schoen let him walk. And it might work out for the better. We'll see what we have in Tyrone Tracy. He's going to be, for sure, a more budget-friendly option. But as of right now, Saquon's a Super Bowl champion. The Giants haven't won since 2012. That's just the facts. All right, let me get to some of the Jets stuff now. The Jets released Davante Adams today. So much for a reunion between Adams and Rodgers. It lasted a whole, 12, 13 weeks this year. And now they're both gone. Now Gang Green doesn't know what direction their franchise is moving in. They don't have a quarterback. Is Justin Fields the answer? Is Russell Wilson the answer? And Russell Wilson's the veteran quarterback I want the Giants to bring him for the record. I want them to draft Jackson Dart and bring in Russell Wilson. I think Russ is a good guy. He'll be a good voice in the locker room. He'll be a good mentor to Dart. And we'll see what we have in that. But getting back to the Jets now. So much was made for, 2 years ago, DJ Moore. This is the best defense since the 80s Bears. Aaron Rodgers. He's gonna follow the Brett Favre career path and bring him back to contention. The Jets are gonna win 12, 13 games. They're one of the best teams in the AFC. They're gonna make the playoffs as the 2 or the 3 seed. But then Aaron Rodgers, trip to Egypt, ayahuasca, darkness retreat, Jimmy Kimmel, Brick Johnson, and the Madden ratings. It has been a conundrum of mishaps for the Jets franchise over the past 2 years. But now, with a fresh house, with Darren Muji and Aaron Glenn in control, they have a chance to make all of it right. If they bring in the right guys this offseason, if they draft the right quarterback, and if they revamp this offense, Alan Lazard is able to look for trades now. He's able to seek a trade partner. The Jets could be back to contention. You still got Breece Hall. You still got Garrett Wilson. The defense still has pieces. We'll see what Sauce Gardner is this year. The Jets might not be so bad after all. If Aaron Glenn is a leader of men, if he is the head coach everyone's expecting him to be, if he is more than just a defensive coordinator, the Jets have a chance to be good. If the Jets did not make a mistake in bringing in the young executive Darren Muji from the Denver Broncos, if that guy is able to draft well, is able to work the free agent market, is able to work the cap space, it's a long list of things, but the Jets might not be so bad after all. It's a new light. It's a new day for Jet Nation, for Gang Green, and I think it could be for the better. So for me, I think the quarterback that the Jets need, I think they could take a shot on Justin Fields. I think that's the perfect spot for Justin Fields. They don't have as high as expectations with a first-year head coach, and that's the other thing. You have a first-year head coach, why not give him a kind of a vet, not really proven quarterback, but someone who he can win a couple games if he's playing well. Because just at the start of this year, he started for the Steelers opening week 1 in Atlanta last year, and the Steelers got off to a 2 or 3-0 start, and then things started to crumble, and Russ took over as QB1, and the Steelers ran some goal lines, some fourth and short packages, third and short quarterback design run packages for Justin Fields. But Justin Fields, I think he will get a shot, whether it's with the Raiders, whether it's with the Jets. I think those are really the two teams that are going to go after him. I don't think the Giants should, like I mentioned before. I think the Jets or Las Vegas are really the only two spots. I don't think this will happen, But the perfect guy for the Jets is really Sam Darnold. The problem is he's not going to want to come back to the Jets. After revitalizing his career and then maybe throwing it all away those last 2 weeks of the season, he doesn't want to come back to the place his career started. To MetLife Field, where he was selected high in the draft. He was a top 3 pick, and things never worked out. He had multiple head coaches. Then he went to Carolina. It was similar. But then he went to Minnesota. He got coached up by Kevin O'Connell. He was in that Vikings quarterback system, which takes mid-quarterbacks to play at a higher level than they actually should be. And he was awesome. He was one of the better quarterbacks in the NFL last year. He was top 10 for sure. Sam Darnold would be the perfect candidate for the Jets, but it won't happen. So I think they'll get stuck with either Justin Fields or Russell Wilson, depending on who the Steelers take and depending on who the Giants try to sign. But for the draft, I think you stand pat at, 7th overall. You take Abdul Carter if he's still there. Maybe he'll slip. I know that's who they were projected to get a couple weeks back, but he climbed up draft rankings to the point where he was 3 or 4 overall. But then he fractured his foot, so maybe he's going to slip back down. I think Abdul Carter is a really good guy to just fortify the pass rushing game for the Jets. There's that one wide receiver. I don't remember his name. I think he's at maybe Arizona or USC or something like that. I forget what his name is, but he was good. Travis Hunter, all those guys are going to be off the board. It's a weird draft class. Maybe you take a Will Campbell. Maybe that's the guy that the Jets take in the draft. I think Abdul Carter is the number 1 option. And you bring in a kind of veteran quarterback who knows what he's doing. And you see what you have from there. I think it is an evaluation year for the Jets. I think it's a year where it's like the Mets last year. It's a transition year. New regime's coming in. You got some money tied up in guys that you don't really want it to be tied up in. And that being who? Some of the guys on that defense. I'm blanking on names. They do have a bunch of young guys, though, like Quinnen Williams and Breece Hall, who they're going to have to pay. They're going to have to pay Garrett Wilson. So the way they were building, the trajectory they were on, is that they're supposed to be winning this year, which that's not realistic anymore. They don't have a quarterback right now. They're going to have to either draft one or sign one in free agency. But they've got some trouble over the next couple of years because, like I mentioned, you're going to have to pay Breece Hall. You're going to have to pay Garrett Wilson. You're going to have to pay Quinnen Williams. You're going to have to pay Sauce Gardner. That's 4 guys right there that were integral parts of your team when you almost made the playoffs. I think you were 8-9 a couple years back, or when you brought in Aaron Rodgers in. The franchise seemed to be turning around. We're going to break the longest playoff drought in American sports. It didn't happen, but now they got to move on. They got to figure out a way to get out of this. I don't think it happens this year. It's going to be a multi-year process, but we'll see what happens with the Jets, and we'll also see what happens to the Giants. All right, that's going to do it for this episode. If you enjoyed, please consider subscribing, following, liking, commenting, sharing it with a friend. I really appreciate it. Also, feel free to leave me a voicemail with your sports questions and takes at 848-305-8073. I'll react to all of them in the next episode once I receive them. Also, make sure you go check out all my socials in the description below, posting a lot of content on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube Shorts. So make sure you stay tuned with that. All right. Last but not least, make sure you keep it locked with the Sports Pod.